Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. I'm letting the dogs out for this docket. First up, almost everyone's favorite, Judge Mogen decides the sentence of a woman who, with the help of her children, stole her dog back from the Humane Society. As a former Humane Society volunteer who fostered and then adopted a pretty pitty who was part of an animal control case, not everyone needs to own pets. And now this lady might not be able to. And then, Judge gets to decide if a dog is destroyed. Yes, we've got a dog on death row. Don't hate. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
We will go on the record in the matter 24 CF 147, State of Wisconsin versus Claudette Matrius. The state appears through District Attorney James Renicky in person. Ms. Matrius appears in person in custody with counsel Christopher Gramstrup. We're set here today in this matter for a plea and sentencing. The parties have reached an agreement. Mr. Gramstrup, please recite the agreement for the record.
Your Honor, my understanding is that Ms. Matrius first would have to waive the preliminary examination, which she's prepared to do. The count would be amended to a misdemeanor theft. Any other counts would be dismissed and read in. There would be a joint recommendation for no jail or probation, just costs, fines, fees, and a DNA sample and surcharge. Apparently, there is no restitution. And an uncharged read-in of obstructing an officer, which arose out of some facts when they went to arrest Ms. Matrius on the 19th of this month.
All right, Mr. Renicky, do you have any information as it relates to that uncharged? Do you have, isn't it a B number or something?
Yes, it is 24B as in boy, T as in Tom, 748, and it was a referral for obstructing. Essentially, when the police came to her house, she locked the door and hid under the bed, and when they came to arrest her, but ultimately that was essentially it. She basically was hiding and made it a little bit more difficult for them to do their job.
All right, okay. And that's the agreement that's been reached?
Yes, and I believe it's a single count, an H felony of theft with special facts, but then after we get the preliminary hearing waiver and file the information, the agreement is to plead to a straight misdemeanor theft.
Okay. And Ms. Matrius, you understand what it is to have a preliminary hearing, is that correct?
Yes,
Your attorney went over with you that the state has the burden to prove a felony was probably committed and probably committed by you?
yes,
And you understand that by waiving your right to a preliminary hearing, you agree the state can meet that burden?
yes,
Do you understand that at a preliminary hearing, your attorney would be able to ask questions of the state's witnesses or call witnesses to testify for you? He would also be able to produce evidence on your behalf or possibly discover things about the case, which could include defenses, but you're giving up those rights today?
yes,
Do you understand that if the state does not meet its burden at the preliminary hearing, I could amend the charge to a misdemeanor or dismiss it altogether, but you're giving up that right today?
yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that once you give up the right, it is forever and you cannot get it back?
Yes,
Has anyone made any threats or any promises to you other than the offer presented by the state for you to waive your right to a preliminary hearing?
no,
All right. I will find that you're competent, you're freely, intelligently, and voluntarily waiving your right to a preliminary hearing. I will find probable cause and bind the matter over. Information being filed, Mr. Renicky.
Yes, it was just electronically signed and filed, and it does mirror the complaint.
And pursuant to the agreement, you wish to amend to a misdemeanor theft, correct?
Yes, please.
Formal motion to amend,
Yes, please.
granted. All right, now, an agreement has been reached. Can you please recite the agreement for the record, or I already had you do that?
I did, Your Honor.
Yes, you already did that. And then we have all of this other housekeeping matters that we needed to take care of. Before I go and take your plea, Ms. Matrius, I am going to ask that the victims provide their statements. I'm going to have you go one at a time up to the black desk up there. You can state your name for the record and how you are related as a victim. If you do not wish to state your name, you can state your initials.
Thank you, Your Honor, for giving us this opportunity. My name is Joanne Manning. I am a board president I've been a volunteer at the Humane Society for over 14 years. So I am very much an animal advocate. Did you want me to continue? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Just provide your statement and the impact that Ms. Matrius's
Okay.
conduct has had.
On the day in question, Ms. Matrius came in with a minor and two teenagers. We're not sure of the ages, if they were over 18 or not. They went to look at dogs, which is not uncommon, and they asked if they could take a dog for a walk. They took Gracie for a walk. The teenager ran back into the office and said Gracie got away. So everybody was in panic mode. But with thanks to, we were able to backtrack. And somebody had reached out to us and said that they saw two teenagers throwing her into a car and driving north. So we were able to backtrack and go through our records. And then we had Deputy Krupa, which we really appreciate, and Joe Ustagoff, the tribal animal control office, and Crystal Schmidt from our office. She went with them because she could recognize the children. They went to get the dog, and initially they wouldn't open the door, but they did finally get in and get the dog and get back to us. It was a very traumatic experience for the dog. It was very traumatic for us because we've never had this happen before, and it became a trust issue with the public coming in to see the animals. So that was really not a good thing. The other thing that really bothers, besides the whole situation, is that a minor was involved in the theft, as well as the two teenagers. And again, I don't know the ages of the teenagers. I think one was probably under 18, but the other one I don't know. And being a mother and a grandmother, I would never think to involve children in something like that. It does not set a good example and puts them in at risk. So I've come to every hearing because I think we need to be the eyes and the ears of the shelter. And like I said, I'm an animal advocate, and I will stand up for the animal every time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next individual, please.
Hi, my name is Jerry Woodstone, and I'm a vice president on the board for the shelter. I've been a volunteer for about 2 years since we moved up to Siren from the cities. And I dearly love animals and the care they get at the shelter. And that day when this all took place, when I found out Krissy was, got out of her collar, was lost, I was very upset, and I was concerned for Gracie's safety and where she could have gone. And a lot of volunteers came out to help find her. And two of the volunteers were the kids that lived across the street from the shelter. I mean, there was quite a few people. We searched for probably over an hour until we found out what really happened. And that was a witness in a car drove by at the time that these kids were taking the dog in, putting it in their car and driving off. And so many volunteers and we were all just very upset and trying to find out, where she had gone, because she's never gotten out of her collar before. This person, lied to Crystal at the front desk, saying that she had gotten away, and involved a minor, which really upset me because I am a mother and grandmother as well. And I didn't think it set a very good example to involve a child in this. Gracie was probably very stressed, wondering what was going on, why she was taken like that, and why she's back to where she was before. She had gone through enough before she got to the shelter, and we just got her settled in, and she was doing really well. But the fact that when Sheriff Krupa showed up at the house, she wouldn't open the door. And so it's like, it took him about 15 minutes, I was told, that before she would open the door and let the dog come out. And you surrendered Gracie because you couldn't pay the vet bills. And I just say it was very wrong to try to take her back. My hope is that this never happens again, because the public's aware of it. We now have cameras on our property. But like I say, this was the first time this has happened, and it was very disturbing to the volunteers, to the people at the shelter, and we were very concerned for Gracie's safety.
Thank you.
Mhm.
May
Thank
I
you.
ask, how do you spell your name, Jerry?
Geri.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay. I have in front of me the plea questionnaire waiver of rights form, Ms. Matrius. Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
Did you go over this document with your attorney?
yes,
Did he go over it thoroughly with you?
yes,
That is essentially, did he go over it word for word?
yes,
Do you understand everything on this document?
yes,
If you didn't understand something, did you ask him to explain it?
yes,
And he did so.
yes,
So you're telling the court you fully understand everything on this document.
yes,
You're pleading guilty to one count of misdemeanor theft, correct?
yes,
You're 46 years old. You have 12 years of schooling. You can read, write. You understand the English language.
yes,
No mental illness or disorder, no drugs, alcohol, or other medication in the last 24 hours.
no, Your Honor.
Your attorney thoroughly went over what the state would have to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, as well as the maximum possible penalty you face, correct?
Yes,
Did your attorney also go over thoroughly your constitutional rights?
yes,
And you understand those rights as listed thoroughly on your plea questionnaire waiver of rights form?
yes,
Do you need me to go over those rights with you in any more detail?
no, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving and giving up those rights?
Yes,
You understand that if you're not a citizen of the United States, your plea could result in your deportation.
yes,
You understand the state would have to prove on or around April 23rd, 2024, that you intentionally took and carried away and you intended to keep and retain or conceal the movable property of another without their consent, with the intent to permanently deprive the owner of possession of that property. And here it was, a dog. Do you understand what the state would have to prove?
yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand the maximum possible penalty you face is a $10,000 fine or up to a $10,000 fine and or incarceration of up to 9 months in jail? Do you understand that?
Yes,
Or both? You understand?
yes,
You understand that there is an agreement here and a joint recommendation to the court for costs only. Cost, fine, DNA sample, and fees. Do you understand that?
yes,
Do you understand that I'm not bound to follow that, which means I could sentence you all the way up to the maximum possible penalty if I thought it was warranted?
yes,
Do you still wish to proceed and enter a guilty plea?
yes, Your Honor.
Did you review that criminal complaint with your attorney?
Yes,
In particular, there is that section called the probable cause section, which basically says what happened that day and why you were charged with the crime. Do you remember that?
yes,
For the most part, are those facts accurate?
yes,
Did you in fact go to the Humane Society and take what is now called or known as a dog named Gracie?
yes,
Mr. Gramstrup, may the court use the probable cause section of the criminal complaint to find a factual basis?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Matrius, has anyone made any threats or any promises to you for you to plead guilty to this charge?
no,
You're doing so freely and intelligently. That means you're telling the court you fully understand what you're doing here today
yes,
and voluntarily.
yes,
Has your attorney represented you competently?
yes,
Has he answered all of your questions?
yes,
Has he looked at this matter thoroughly?
yes,
Are you satisfied with his services?
yes,
Any questions for the court or for your attorney before I proceed?
no, Your Honor.
As to the amended count, misdemeanor theft, how do you wish to plead?
Guilty.
The court will find your plea of guilt is done knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. I will find that you understand your constitutional rights and what it means to waive and give up those rights. I will find a factual basis to accept your plea of guilt. Based on that, I will find you guilty of misdemeanor theft. A judgment of conviction will be entered today. Argument and sentencing recommendation, Mr. Renicky.
Your Honor, this is an odd case in many ways. It reminds me a little bit of Cool Hand Luke, the movie with Paul Newman, in the sense that almost since day one, we've had a reasonable offer out there that was told that was going to be accepted. And then, you know, here we are multiple hearings later. There's been missed court hearings, alleged illnesses, obstructing officers, a warrant, those types of things. And now she's apparently sat 10 days of jail, which we were never even asking for in the first place. So in that respect, it's kind of odd, but at least ultimately now we have an acceptance of responsibility. We think this is fair and reasonable and would ask the court to follow it.
Thank you. Mr. Gramstrup, argument?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Claudette is 46 years old. She does have her GED. She does have some work history, working at as a desk clerk at the casino. She is on disability. Actually, she was on disability. She's lost it and she has to reapply. And that's due to some joint issues in her feet. I really like the state's analogy because I think it really does apply, because Luke went to prison for really a minor property offense. He broke into a traffic meter and stole some change. Wound up going to prison for a long time because he didn't deal with his problems and his issues that he created. And that's a conversation that I had with Claudette this afternoon, just before court over at the jail. It ties into what the victims are indicating, that this was an issue for her, that was an issue for them. And she didn't really deal with it appropriately. But I think she understands that. She had to sit 10 days that she wouldn't have had to sit. And I think that's had an impact on her. I do think she's sorry for what she did. I do think she accepts responsibility. And I think she has, I hope she does. She indicates to me, and I do believe her, that she has a little bit better understanding of what she needs to do to deal with issues and difficulties that she's created, so they don't become something bigger than they originally are. So I do like that analogy. I think it's really good. But based upon all of this, Your Honor, I do think that what we have before you is appropriate, and I would ask the court to approve it.
Thank you. Ms. Matrius, is there anything that you would like to say either to the court or honestly to the Humane Society themselves?
Yeah, I just want to apologize for having the Humane Society come to the courts that many times when I did not appear. I know it's a stupid act, and I know that I should have took care of it the first time instead of having the courts waste their time all the times I did not appear. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Matrius. Mr. Renicke's argument really was a good argument. I guess you have to be old enough to understand that argument. At first glance at looking at this case, one may not think that this is as serious as it is. I understand, Ms. Matrius, you may have had a connection with Gracie or Goonsy or whatever name you may have called this dog. I don't know how long you may have had this dog. I don't know the issues that caused you to bring the dog to the vet. I don't know the reasons you didn't pay the vet bills. I know vet bills are very expensive. Even if the issue is not a serious one, I have pets and I understand that. The way you went about trying to retrieve your dog, even if you loved your dog, because sometimes I'm going to tell you, animals, at least my animals, and I know other people who have animals, they're like our children. We have such close connections with our animals, and I'm not sure if that was the connection that you had with Gracie. Even if you had this connection with Gracie, she was now in a different position, a different place. She was in foster care. Essentially, it was in a foster care situation, and she was being taken care of due to your conduct for not paying the vet bill and for that underlying reason. And the way you went about the situation and the way you brought in the 3 minors, or the 3, I don't know if they were all 3 minors, 3 juveniles, 3 underage individuals, but bringing in 3 youths even made it far worse. Because I do agree with these 2 ladies that you are an example. And you've been an example. Ms. Matris, you've been in this court before where you understand that you are an example and you need to be an example for the younger individuals and the younger people. Because otherwise, they will follow in those footsteps and they will continue to do wrong. We have to guide them and show them right from wrong. Hopefully, 10 days in jail has been enough to open your eyes so that you can understand the seriousness of your conduct and your behavior. But quite honestly, I think that losing Gracie probably was a lot worse than 10 days in jail. And I don't know how, this is not a case where I can fix the victims or cure the victims here or cure the Humane Society, because now it impacts the community as a whole, because other individuals that go in to look at these animals to bring them into their homes now have to be looked at as, are they going to take the animals? Are they going to try and abscond with the animals? And that puts the Humane Society at risk. That puts these animals at risk. And that's what's sad. All in all, this has been an eye-opener, I believe, for a lot of people. And I hope, Ms. Matrius, this has been an eye-opener for you, because this is not only going to be a financial hardship, and I'm going to guess this is going to be a lot bigger of a bill than the vet bill would have been, than the vet bill ended up or was, in fact. And it's a lot more time of confinement and time of having thoughts to yourself than if you would have initially figured out how to pay the vet bill and have Gracie. The agreement here, I believe, is appropriate because in the end, you did sit 10 days in jail. What the court is going to do is I'm going to assess $443 in fines and fees. I originally forfeited $250, but I'm going to set that aside, and that's going to go to part of your fines and fees. So you're still going to owe the remaining. That can be paid in 30 days. Or if you need a payment plan, you can work that out with the clerk, but failing to pay that not only will mean a civil judgment against you, but you could sit up to 6 months in jail. So if you didn't like 10, you're not going to like 6 months. 10 days, you're not going to like 6 months. I'm actually going to sentence you to 13 days of jail. Because with good time, that would equal 10 days. You've sat the time. And maybe 13 days in jail with 443 days of fines and fees will be a good lesson to the community that we don't go and we don't try and take our animals out of the Humane Society. We don't try and, even if at one time we were the owners of these animals, we don't try and take what is no longer ours to take and to not go about the right way to apply, to be approved, to be the homes for these animals. You have 20 days to appeal. Should you fail to appeal in 20 days, you do lose that right. I'm ordering your DNA. Again, if you fail to pay this off in 30 days or figure out a payment plan, you could sit an additional 6 months in jail. Make sure the jail will make sure you provide your DNA before you're released. I'm dismissing and reading in 24 BT 748, the obstruction of an officer as a read-in. There's no restitution being requested. I believe that is all. Mr. Renicky, what am I missing?
I think that was it. Did the court go over the deportation warning?
Yes, Mr. Gramstrup,
I'm sorry?
anything I'm missing?
No, nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Well, Ms. Matrius, I hope that this has been a big lesson and a big eye opener for you. All right, thank you. We are adjourned.
Good luck, Claudia.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, would you come on up, please? This is the matter of the city of Taylor, Brenda, and I believe it's Wykowski.
Yeah.
If you come on up. Thank you. And you can have a seat right at that table if you'd like.
Pardon?
If you're comfortable, you can sit right there.
Here?
Sure.
Okay.
Ma'am, would you state your name, please? What is your name?
My name is Brenda Wykowski.
Wykowski, thank you very much. Mr. Fanta.
And good morning, Your Honor, Matthew Zick, for the people. Also present is the officer in charge of the Animal Control Department, Isaac Philbrow, as well as via Zoom is the dog bite victim in this case, Mrs. Zuccaro.
I'm gonna make sure, Mr. Zuccaro, if you unmute, are you able to hear the proceedings?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would you state your name?
Angelica Zuccaro.
Thank you, Mr. Caro. Okay. What does the people say here?
Your Honor, as noted, this was filed as a civil matter, people of the city of Taylor versus Miss Wykowski? Ms. Wykowski, regarding from a dog bite incident. This is under our ordinance, and I know you don't see a lot of these, under 6-47 complaints hearings. Judge Shackford entered a show cause order setting the matter for hearing today under 6-47, which says on sworn complaint to the local district court that any one of the following exists. There are 5 factors. Third being a dog has at any time attacked or bitten a person. The judge shall issue a summons to show cause, which was done in this case, why such dog should not be killed. Upon such hearing, which is today's hearing, upon such hearing, the judge may either order the dog killed or confined in the premises of the owner. This again is under 6-47 of our ordinances based on the identical state statute MCL 287.286A.
Thank you. And I'm going to proceed. Ma'am, you understand the nature of the charges here?
This is the first time my dog has ever bit anyone.
Good.
And when this incident happened, I had just had knee replacement surgery like 3 or 4 weeks prior.
Well, I'm going to ask you just to hold on. Let's hear then what the incident is alleged to have happened, and then you certainly can respond. You can also ask questions, okay?
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. And you want to present some testimony?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that would be, I don't think there's a dispute as to the fact that there was a dog bite in people's position that would qualify, but I think it would, in terms of what.
It does create a better picture.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to establish a record. That's why I have the witness here today via Zoom.
Mr. Carl, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. And your name under oath again is the same, I hope?
Angelica Zuccaro.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Zay.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Carl. I'm going to turn your attention back to May 15th of this year at about 10 a.m. At the location of here in the city of Taylor, County of Wayne, state of Michigan. Can you tell the court what it was you were doing at that date and time and location?
So at that time, my husband, Ryan Zuccaro, my son and myself were at the property. My husband serviced the lawn there. And so I had gone up to knock on the door. her car was in the way, so we couldn't get into the backyard to cut the grass back there. So I went up to knock on the door to ask her to pull the car back.
All right. And then did something happen as you were heading up to the house?
So I walked up to the house and I knocked on the door, and she had come to the door like had happened many times before. And she was holding onto the door. And I asked her if she could move the car. And she said, yeah, no problem. And I said, okay, thanks. Have a great day. And as I started to back off of her front porch, I'm not sure if the dog hit the door or if she had been holding it partially open, but the dog came through the screen door around the side of the door to where I was standing and grabbed a hold of my hand.
All right. And then when you said grabbed a hold of your hand, this is her dog, Buddy. What was it that happened at that point?
So the dog had lashed onto my hand between my middle and ring finger, and I yanked my hand out of the dog's mouth while I was screaming at the dog. My husband and my son both came running towards the house. At that point, she had regained control of the dog. And my husband had yelled at her that this was not okay, that this is the second time the dog had tried to attack. And did attack me this time. It had tried to attack him last summer in the backyard.
And Ms. Zuccaro, I have pictures that you forwarded me that I'm going to submit to the court. You suffered 2 puncture marks on your hand, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
All right. And did you end up having to seek medical treatment for that?
Yes, I did.
And can you describe that to the court?
I went to Garden City Hospital later in the evening. My hand was swollen. They had to clean it. They had to give me shots. The bill was roughly $2,200. And I had to have antibiotics and pain medication for 10 days.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I will move to have the pack of exhibits. I believe it may have already been attached to the original show cause, but I will move to have those.
I don't have them. I know you're showing them to Ms. Wachowski. Mr. Carr, were any of your medical bills covered by insurance?
So they did negotiate the bill down to just over $600, but the actual bill itself, no, has not been covered because I had not met my medical deductibles for the year. So I do still owe that bill.
When you say you owe the bill, how much do you owe?
I believe, I don't have the paper in front of me, but it's $603 and some change.
Okay. All right, $600 is owed. Let me take a look at the pictures. Ma'am, the photos I'm looking at, you would have submitted there of your hand with red fingernail polish, it looks like. Does that sound correct?
Probably, yes.
Okay. I will admit the photos.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the bill is also attached, Your Honor. It's $2,000. The original amount was $2,338.20 from Garden City Hospital.
Been reduced to $600.
Yes.
Okay. There it is. Okay. I will admit these. The photos will be Exhibit 1, and the other packet will be Exhibit 2. The plaintiffs. Anything else for this witness?
Nothing further for this witness.
Let me just ask, what kind of dog was it? Can you describe the dog? Excuse me.
So I had never seen the dog outside of the house. And every time we went up to the house, it was in her front window. It was like brown and black and had like medium length hair. The dog was always barking and smashing its face into the window. So we tried to keep our distance just in case.
Okay. Thank you. Pam, do you have any questions for?
The dog is a boxer border collie mix.
Hold on. Okay, thank you. But do you have any questions for Mr. Carl at all? You want to ask her anything?
Pardon me?
You want to ask this witness any questions?
This is the first time he has ever bit anybody. He has been my support dog and assist dog. I'm 68 and hearing impaired. And he's my protection since my husband's been gone.
Do you have any questions for Mrs. Carr? Nothing to ask her? Okay, thank you.
But if she wants me to pay her hospital bill, I can. I'll just have to make payments.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I
Mr.
just
Dick,
want
do you
my
have
dog.
another witness?
No, Your Honor, people rest, I believe that provides the factual basis.
Is Mr. Zuccaro here?
He was on.
Is that Mr. Zuccaro? Ryan Zuccaro, would you state your name? He has to unmute. There you go.
Yeah,
Ryan.
Ms. Ryan Zaccaro.
Thank you, Mr. Zuccaro. I'm going to put you under oath. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
And Ms. Zuccaro is your wife, correct? Angelica? All right. There was testimony from her that you had an incident with this dog prior to the incident where your wife was bitten. Can
Yep.
you tell me about that?
Yeah, I was out. I was in her backyard getting ready to cut the grass. It was an accident. She let the dog out, and the dog charged me when I had a weed whip in my hand.
And what happened?
I got out the gate, and she put the dog away.
I didn't know he was in the backyard.
Was the dog trying to attack you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. But
Yeah, I
then
mean,
that was not it. Go ahead.
I just got out of the gate. I mean, it happened. She had no idea I was back there. She probably thought
Okay.
I was still out front. I mean, it happens.
You were there the date your wife was bitten, correct?
Absolutely.
Is it the same dog we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. That's the people. Do you have any questions for the gentleman?
No questions, Your Honor. No questions.
Ma'am, do you have any questions for this gentleman? Okay, thank you.
I just didn't know he was in the backyard when I let my dog out.
Appreciate that. All right, we'll accept that as testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do people have any other witnesses?
No, nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Your name one more time, please.
My name is Brenda Wyskowski.
Okay. Anything you want to tell the court about this incident?
Pardon me?
Anything you want to tell us about this incident?
I want to keep my dog. He's been with me 7 years. I can't imagine not having him. I will pay her hospital bill and payments if she chooses it. But this is the very first time he's ever bit anybody. I've had him for 7 years. He was a rescue when I got him.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Zick, you have any questions for this lady?
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you. Well, I was going to ask if maybe one, it might have already been asked. How old is your dog?
Yeah, it's my dog.
How old is? I'm sorry.
He's almost 11.
Okay. And his name is Buddy?
Yes.
Okay. And Buddy is what type of breed?
He's a boxer border collie mix.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
Brown and white.
Anything else from the people?
Nothing further, Your Honor. People rest.
And Mr. Kowski, has anything else you want to tell the court?
Pardon me?
Anything else you want to tell the court? You're good? Okay. So the court does fine. I mean, based on testimony, obviously, we had a dog bite here that occurred in the city of Taylor. And there is evidence that the dog has went after a gentleman in the backyard on a prior date. So I do find that we have an animal that meets the statutory definition. Or I should say the city ordinance definition. For the dog with a vicious habit. bitten a person. Mr. Zick, what does the city say?
Your Honor, it does, the reason though the show cause was brought because the dog, I know it seems harsh that, you know, it was, she indicated a first bite, but based on the circumstances, the nature of the dog having a previous incident and unprovoked attacking the victim in this matter, the people will leave it to the court's discretion to either have the dog put down or confined to the premises of the owner as allowed under statute, under the ordinance 6-47.
I'm going to ask the victims. Mr. Caro, do you have anything you want to add? I know you want restitution, I presume, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell the court with regard to a punishment? What do you think?
My only concern with the dog is I don't know if she is capable of confining it to her home, if the dog will get out again. I am a dog lover and I have 2 of my own, and I would never want someone's pet to be put down because I know my own animals are like family. But at the same time, the dog had previously tried to attack my husband. It did attack me. It also, from my understanding, went after the responding officer that had gone to the home the following day. And I don't know what
I did not hear any testimony to that effect about the responding officer. Is that correct?
You are correct, Your Honor.
Is there going to be testimony that the responding officer was attacked?
Officer Lee.
Yeah, not at this time, Your Honor. It was not Officer Villarreal who's the officer in charge of the case, but he was not the officer that particular incident happened.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that, Mr. Carr, for interrupting. Go ahead if you want to finish.
I don't know if she is capable of containing the animal, and if someone else was to knock on her door, if they would be attacked as well. That's my fear.
Thank you.
I have had the door secured so he can't bust out it.
What do you mean by that?
When I put a new latch on it so he can't push the door. And I can control him. I have to just tell him to come in. I didn't have a collar or a leash on him in the house.
I know you're very close to your dog.
Pardon me?
I know you're very close to your dog.
Yes, he's my everything right now.
I understand. I am very concerned based on the history I've heard here of 2 incidents within a year of the dog. Somebody comes into your yard, the dog attacks, and it doesn't seem to be controlled. And because of that, I'm going to order the dog.
Well, I normally make sure that he's not out if anybody.
I know, but the problem is, it shouldn't be. I mean, somebody's going to walk by your yard. I'm concerned about this. That somebody walks by your yard, this dog's going to get out and attack them. I have 2 incidents within a year. I'm going to order the dog destroyed. You're going to have to bring it to the. You want to go pick it up, or do you want her to bring it in?
Her option, Your Honor.
You have to bring it to the Taylor Dog Pound.
Correct. Yeah.
And do that within 5 days.
Pardon?
You have to take the dog to the dog pound within 5 days. You have to
Drop
pay.
him off where?
Ma'am, the judge has ordered the dog destroyed.
You drop him off where at?
Right, I'll give you the address.
Okay.
And pay $600 in restitution. We'll set up a payment plan for that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I am sorry. That's the court's ruling. I thank you all. We're all set.